The thick glass partition is already fogged at the edges when he sits down. Outside, a gray rain drags across the prison windows, and inside, the chair feels bolted not just to the floor, but to a truth he does not want to touch. He came to visit a childhood friend. But the danger in this room is not the guard, the locked door, or the long sentence on the other side of the glass. The danger is how quietly a man can turn another man's fall into proof of his own superiority. Most people do not call that pride. They call it morality. They say, "I would never do what he did." Maybe they are right. But sometimes that sentence is less about justice and more about distance. Then the cheap intercom crackles. A muffled voice comes through, thinner than memory, and suddenly the person behind the glass is not only an inmate. He is the boy who once ran beside him through summer streets, the friend who knew his old nickname, the one now carrying consequences that cannot be talked away. So what does honor require when someone you love has done something you cannot defend? Samurai discipline does not ask you to excuse wrongdoing. It asks whether you can face pain without letting judgment make you small. He almost does not recognize him at first. Not because prison has changed his face beyond recognition. It has not. The same eyes are there, older now, set deeper, carrying the tired caution of a man who has learned that every movement is watched. The same mouth that used to laugh too loud in the back seat of somebody's old car. The same slope of the shoulders, though now they sit inside a state-issued uniform, behind a thick glass partition, under lights that make everybody look guilty of something. The visitor lifts the black receiver. His friend lifts the one on the other side. For half a second, neither of them speaks. That is the part no one prepares you for. Not the security line. Not the metal detector. Not the plastic tray where you leave your keys and phone. Not the guard who tells you where to sit without looking directly at you. The hard part is the first silence between two people who once did not need introductions. The cheap intercom hums in his hand. It has that worn-out public building sound, like old courthouse microphones and hospital waiting room speakers, where every voice comes through flattened, delayed, stripped of warmth. When his friend finally says his name, it reaches him as a muffled version of something human. He had rehearsed a certain posture on the drive over. He would be calm, fair, serious. He would not be cruel. He would not say anything reckless. He would not pretend the crime did not happen. He would sit like a decent man, speak like a decent man, and leave with the comfort of knowing he had done the hard, honorable thing. But underneath that clean version of himself, something less honorable had ridden with him through the rain. A small, private satisfaction. He hated that it was there, but it was. Part of him had wanted to see his friend diminished. Not destroyed, not suffering in some dramatic way. Just lower. Smaller. Placed where the world had agreed he now belonged. Behind glass. In uniform. Under rules. The visitor had not put that thought into words, because spoken plainly, it sounded ugly. But the body knows what the mind tries to dress up. He noticed it in the way he stood a little straighter at check-in. In the careful firmness of his jaw. In the quiet story building itself inside him. I made better choices. I stayed clean. I did not become this. That story feels like discipline at first. It is not. It is judgment wearing a pressed shirt. There is a difference between recognizing wrongdoing and feeding on the distance it creates. One is moral clarity. The other is ego finding a cheap meal. And in a prison visiting room, where every chair is hard and every clock seems louder than it should be, that difference becomes painfully visible. His friend looks through the glass and tries to smile. It does not hold. The visitor sees the failure of it, and for a moment, an old memory breaks through before he can stop it. Two boys sitting on a curb after a little league game, sharing warm soda from a bottle, grass stains on their knees, talking like the whole future was still unlocked. He had not thought about that afternoon in years. He had thought about the trial. The article. The sentence. The phone call from his mother saying, "Did you hear what happened?" He had thought about the victim, the damage, the shame that spread through families and neighborhoods. He had thought about everything serious, everything adult, everything necessary. But he had not let himself remember the boy. That was convenient. Because if he only remembered the crime, he could feel clean. If he remembered the boy, he had to feel grief too. The intercom crackles again. His friend asks how his parents are doing. A normal question, almost too normal for the room. The visitor answers. He hears himself using the polite tone people use when they are standing at the edge of something they do not want to enter. Short sentences. Safe details. Weather, work, family, health. Nothing that might put a hand on the actual wound. On the other side of the thick glass partition, his friend nods like a man grateful for scraps. That is when the visitor feels the shadow move in him. Not anger. Anger would be easier to respect. Not even disgust. Disgust would be easier to name. This is colder than both. It is the pleasure of being the one who gets to leave. The one whose clothes are his own. The one who will step back into the rain, start the car, decide where to eat lunch, answer a text, buy coffee, go home. The one who can tell himself that his life proves something. The ego loves a courtroom when it gets to sit in the judge's chair. And the cruelest part is that it can do this while speaking softly. He does not insult his friend. He does not raise his voice. He does not say, "You deserve this." He does not need to. Superiority can hide inside restraint. It can sit with folded hands. It can nod at the right time. It can call itself wisdom while refusing to share 1 inch of human ground. This is where Ray becomes more than manners. In the samurai discipline sense, respect is not agreement. It is not pretending harm did not happen. It is not softening the truth until it becomes dishonest. Ray is the outer order that keeps the inner life from becoming deformed. It is the way you sit when the room tempts you to become smaller than your values. It is the way you speak when pain gives you permission to be careless. It is the form that protects dignity when emotion wants to turn another person into a lesson, a warning, or a symbol beneath you. The visitor adjusts the receiver against his ear. He notices his own fingers tightening around the plastic. He notices the rain tapping faintly somewhere beyond the concrete and glass. He notices the guard walking past, slow and bored, like this room has swallowed hundreds of versions of the same broken conversation. He notices that his friend has stopped trying to smile. A lesser part of him wants to ask the question in a way that cuts. Why did you do it? Not because he wants to understand. Because he wants to hear him shrink. That is the moment of confrontation. Not the visit itself. Not the prison. Not even the crime. The true confrontation is private, almost invisible. Will he use another man's failure to polish his own image, or will he hold the full truth without becoming arrogant? There is a disciplined way to face wrongdoing. It begins with refusing false mercy. What happened happened. Consequences matter. Harm matters. Accountability matters. A long sentence is not a metaphor, it is a real human cost tied to real actions. Honor does not ask the visitor to erase that. But there is also a disciplined way to face the person who did wrong. That begins with refusing the drug of superiority. Because once he drinks it, he loses the very dignity he came here trying to preserve. He becomes another man controlled by appetite, only his appetite looks respectable. He wants to feel above. He wants moral distance to become personal elevation. He wants the thick glass partition to tell him not just where his friend sits, but who is worth more. And that is a dangerous lie. The glass separates freedom from confinement. It separates consequence from ordinary life. It separates two men whose choices did not lead to the same place. But it does not separate human worth in the clean, simple way the ego wants. The intercom pops. His friend says, "I didn't know if you'd come." The sentence lands badly. Quietly, but badly. For the first time since sitting down, the visitor has no prepared answer. His polite tone is useless here. His inner courtroom has no script for this. He looks at the face behind the glass and sees both truths at once, the man responsible for something he cannot defend, and the childhood friend who still expected abandonment because maybe, in some corner of himself, he believed abandonment was what he deserved. The visitor feels his mouth tighten. He could stay above it. It would be easy. People would understand. Some would even praise him for it. Keep boundaries. Protect your peace. Do not let the past pull you down. There is wisdom in some of that, depending on the life, the harm, the circumstances. But in this particular chair, on this gray rainy morning, he knows the cleaner sounding option is not the honorable one. The honorable thing is harder and less dramatic. He has to remain truthful without becoming cruel. He has to remain compassionate without becoming dishonest. He has to sit in the discomfort of a person being more than the worst thing they have done, while still not reducing the harm they caused. That kind of respect has weight. It does not float above reality. It stands inside it with both feet on the floor. So he lowers his chin slightly. Not in surrender. In attention. He stops looking at the uniform first. He looks at his friend's face. The thick glass partition remains between them. It should. Some separations exist for reasons that cannot be brushed away by sentiment. But the visitor begins to understand that honor behind bars is not only about the man serving time. It is also about the man visiting, and whether he can keep his own spirit from becoming smug in the presence of another person's ruin. Training does not begin when the room becomes easier. It begins while the cheap receiver is still warm against his ear, while the voice on the other side of the glass is still muffled, while the old part of him still wants to stand above his friend and call it justice. He does not get to wait for a cleaner heart. That is the first discipline. He feels the judgment rise and does not pretend it is wisdom. He lets the sentence form silently, ugly and honest. I think I am better than him right now. He does not say it out loud. He does not feed it. He names it the way a man might notice mud on his shoe before walking into someone's house. Not with panic. Not with pride. Just recognition. The receiver presses against his palm. The plastic is scratched near the mouthpiece, worn down by hundreds of visitors who needed to say something and did not know how. He looks at those scratches instead of looking away. They give his attention somewhere to land. His friend is still waiting. So the visitor does the smallest thing available to him. He softens his grip. Not because soft hands fix anything. Not because one loosened hand turns a hard visit into grace. But because the body often votes before the mind admits what it wants. A tight hand wants control. A clenched jaw wants distance. A rigid spine wants to become a verdict. He lets his fingers open slightly around the receiver, and the motion tells his mind, you are not here to punish. The sentence has already been handed down. The rain moves against the high window, gray on gray. He places both feet flat on the floor. The room is built to make people feel powerless. Bolted chairs. Fixed phones, painted lines, glass that refuses touch. Everything says, you may come this far and no farther. His instinct is to fight that helplessness by becoming morally tall, by making himself the one thing in the room that cannot be reduced. But both feet on the floor change the scale of the battle. He is not here to solve the crime, the sentence, the years ahead, the damage behind them, or the strange ache of still caring about someone who has caused harm. He is here to answer one sentence truthfully. I didn't know if you'd come. He breathes once before speaking. Not a theatrical breath. Not some perfect meditation breath meant to make him feel spiritual in a prison visiting room. Just enough air to keep the next words from coming out sharpened. Then he says, I wasn't sure I should. His friend looks down. The visitor lets the words sit. He does not rush to rescue him from them. He does not decorate the truth with fake warmth. Respect in adversity is not the same as comfort. Sometimes it is the courage to speak plainly without adding a blade. The intercom hums between them. The thick glass partition catches their reflections, faint and broken. For a second, the visitor sees his own face laid over his friend's face in the glass. It bothers him. It should. The ego wants a clean line. Good man here. Failed man there. Free man here. Guilty man there. But the reflection refuses to cooperate. It makes a mess of his private ranking system. He keeps looking. That becomes the next practice. Do not look through the person as if the uniform is the whole story. Do not look past the person because the crime makes the room uncomfortable. Look directly, steadily, without making the gaze a weapon. His friend starts talking about the early years inside. Not in detail. Not in a way that asks for pity. He mentions the first winter. How sound carries at night. How letters mattered more than he expected. How some days were not dramatic at all, just long. The visitor hears the muffled voice come through the cheap intercom, every sentence slightly distorted, and he has to keep choosing how to listen. There is a kind of listening that waits only to confirm what it already believes. He knows that kind. He has used it at work, at family dinners, in arguments with people he loved. It wears a calm face while collecting evidence. It nods while building the closing statement. He can feel that habit trying to return now, arranging his friend's words into proof that he is remorseful enough or not remorseful enough, honest enough or not honest enough. So he makes the battle smaller again. He listens to one full sentence without preparing a response. When the intercom crackles, he does not interrupt. When his friend pauses, he does not fill the pause with authority. When a judgment appears, he lets it pass behind his ribs without handing it the microphone. That is a real practice. Quiet, unimpressive, difficult. A guard walks by. Shoes squeak once against the floor. Somewhere down the row, another visitor laughs too loudly, then catches herself. The room continues being what it is, families divided by policy, consequence, shame, love, anger, and time. Nothing about it becomes beautiful. It does not need to. The visitor adjusts his posture. Shoulders down. Chin level. Eyes steady. Voice low. These are not manners for appearance. They are rails laid down for the inner life. When he keeps his tone even, he denies the ego the pleasure of drama. When he sits upright, he refuses the slouch of avoidance. When he lets silence exist, he stops using words as a shield. Form begins to guard the part of him that still wants to feel superior. His friend says, I think about what I did every day. The visitor feels another question rise. This one is sharp, and maybe fair, but not clean in him yet. He wants to ask whether thinking is enough. He wants to ask whether guilt changes anything for the people hurt. Those questions may matter. They may belong somewhere. But not with the poison currently attached to them. So he does not ask from the poison. He rests his thumb against the edge of the receiver and waits until the need to dominate passes. The thick glass partition stays there, carrying the weight of consequence. He does not try to turn the visit into forgiveness. He does not perform mercy he cannot honestly give. He simply refuses to turn pain into a throne. After a few seconds, he says, I don't know what to do with all of this yet. It is the most respectful thing he has said. Because it is true. His friend nods slowly. Not relieved. Not absolved. Just met, maybe for the first time in the conversation, by someone who is not pretending the room is simpler than it is. The training continues in these small restraints. He does not mention the old stories just to make the visit easier. He does not weaponize them either. When a memory comes up, he lets it be a bridge, not an escape. He says, I remembered us sitting on the curb after that game. The one where you struck out and threw your glove into the fence. For the first time, his friend almost laughs. Then the laugh breaks. The visitor does not chase it. He does not need the moment to become healing on schedule. He lets the broken laugh be what it is, a sound trying to pass through glass, wire, shame, and years. This is how ritual is built in a place with no ceremony. Name the judgment. Loosen the hand. Put both feet on the floor. Speak one true sentence. Listen without preparing a verdict. Hold the boundary without worshipping it. Repeat until the mind learns there is another way to sit in front of human failure. By the end of the visit, nothing has been fixed. That matters. Discipline that requires a perfect outcome is just another form of control. The crime remains. The sentence remains. The rain remains. The thick glass partition remains exactly where it was. But the visitor is no longer using it to measure his own height. He is using it to remember the shape of the moment, truth on one side, consequence on the other, and dignity required from both. The visit changes after that, but not in the way movies teach people to expect. No music rises. No forgiveness breaks open the room. No old wound suddenly becomes clean because two men finally said a few honest things through scratched plastic and cheap wiring. The prison visiting room stays what it is. The lights stay hard. The chairs stay bolted down. The guard at the end of the row keeps checking the clock with the same tired face. Rain still drags itself across the high windows, gray and patient, as if morning has no intention of becoming bright. His friend is still behind the thick glass partition. That part matters. Transformation does not remove consequence. It only changes what the visitor does in the presence of it. A few minutes earlier, he had used the glass as proof. Proof that he had chosen better. Proof that his life stood on the correct side of the line. Proof that the man across from him had fallen beneath him in some final, satisfying way. Now the glass looks different. It is still a barrier. It still tells the truth about separation. It still holds the weight of locks, sentences, paperwork, victims, courtrooms, and years that will not be returned. But it is no longer a mirror for his ego. It is a boundary that asks both men to sit upright inside reality. His friend begins speaking more slowly. He talks about time, not as an idea, but as something physical. Counted meals. Counted calls. Counted winters. He says there are mornings when he wakes before the announcement over the speaker and forgets for 1 second where he is. Then the room comes back. The bunk. The wall. The noise. The fact that he cannot open a door and simply leave. The visitor feels the old judgment stir again. It has not disappeared. It may never disappear completely. Some part of him still wants to say, good. That is what consequence feels like. Some part of him still wants the world to be simple enough that suffering always lands exactly where it belongs, in the correct amount, on the correct person, for the correct reason. He catches that thought before it becomes his posture. His thumb rests on the receiver. His feet stay flat. His eyes do not harden. That is the change. Not that he becomes gentle in some saintly way. Not that he stops caring about the harm done. The change is smaller, and because it is smaller, it is more believable. He no longer lets the thought climb into the chair and speak for him. His friend says, I know people think I'm just this now. The visitor does not answer too fast. Earlier, silence had been avoidance. A clean wall. A way to stay untouched. Now silence becomes a form of respect. He lets the sentence breathe. He lets the room hold it. He listens to the faint buzz in the line, the rain beyond the concrete, the distant scrape of another chair. He does not rush to make the moment easier for either of them. Then he says, I don't know what people think. I know what happened matters. And I know you're still here. The words are not perfect. They do not absolve. They do not condemn. They do not perform the emotional tidiness people sometimes demand from pain. But they are honest enough to stand on. His friend looks away. For a second, the visitor sees him not as a symbol, but as a man receiving a sentence that is not legal, not official, but heavy in another way. You are still here. Meaning, your life did not end at your worst act. Meaning, your responsibility did not end there either. Meaning, I will not pretend this is simple just so I can feel clean. The thick glass partition catches both of their reflections again. This time the visitor does not flinch from it. He sees the overlap of two faces. Free and confined. Wounded and responsible. Angry and grieving. The boy from the curb and the man in uniform. The visitor who came to prove he was decent and the visitor who now understands decency has to survive contact with discomfort. Ray is quiet here. It is not a bow. It is not ceremony. It is not polite language poured over an ugly truth. It is the discipline of refusing to let ugliness decide your shape. So he sits with his shoulders level. He asks about the books his friend has been reading. He asks about his mother without using pity in his voice. He admits he has not known what to write in a letter. He does not promise more than he can carry. That restraint is part of the honor too. False devotion would only be another way to escape the difficulty of the real thing. His friend nods when he hears that. Maybe he respects it. Maybe he is disappointed. Maybe both. The visitor can live with both. A voice comes over the room. Visiting time is almost over. The announcement is flat, bureaucratic, merciless in its ordinary tone. Around them, people begin folding conversations into the last few minutes. A woman presses her palm to the glass. A father leans forward, trying to fit 3 more sentences into a call that is already ending. Somewhere down the row, a child asks why they have to go. The visitor feels the old ache rise in him. He wants more time, and he does not. He wants to leave, and he feels ashamed that he wants to leave. He wants the visit to mean something, but not so much that it demands too much from him later. There it is again, the human mixture. Grief, discomfort, duty, self-protection, judgment, affection. Nothing clean. Nothing arranged. He does not punish himself for that mixture. He only chooses the next action. He leans closer to the intercom and says, I'm going to write. I don't know how often yet. But I'll write. His friend holds the receiver tighter. The visitor notices it. That small grip on the other side of the glass. A man trying not to reach for more than he is being offered. Okay, his friend says. The word comes through muffled, almost broken by static. The visitor nods once. The rain has softened outside. It is still there, but no longer hammering the windows. The morning is not brighter, exactly. It is only less blurred. That is enough for this room. When he stands, the chair scrapes against the floor. He places the receiver back in its cradle carefully, not because the phone is sacred, but because careless gestures have a way of revealing careless hearts. He does not slap it down. He does not rush away. He looks once more through the thick glass partition. His friend raises 2 fingers slightly. Not a wave. Almost not even a gesture. Just proof that something passed between them and did not collapse. The visitor returns it. Then he walks toward the door that will open for him. That fact no longer feels like victory. It feels like responsibility. Outside the visiting room, he collects his keys and phone. The guard slides them back without ceremony. The visitor steps into the gray morning, and the rain touches his face with a coldness that feels deserved, not as punishment, but as a reminder. He can leave. He can drive away. He can buy coffee. He can go home. So he must not use freedom as a pedestal. He must use it as a place to practice honor. The thick glass partition stays behind him, but its lesson follows. Consequence can separate lives, but it should not give the ego permission to abandon dignity. Honor is not proven by standing above the fallen. It is proven by refusing to become smaller while facing the fall. Maybe your visiting room is not a prison. Maybe it is a kitchen table where someone in your family finally admits what they did. Maybe it is a quiet phone call with an old friend whose life went somewhere darker than yours. Maybe it is the moment you read a name in the news and feel that quick, hidden lift inside your chest because someone else fell and you did not. Be careful with that feeling. It can look like morality. It can sound like standards. Sometimes it is. But sometimes it is only the ego putting on a clean coat. The man walking back into the rain does not leave with easy forgiveness. He does not leave with a speech. He leaves with a smaller, harder duty, to tell the truth without using it as a weapon, to keep boundaries without turning them into a throne, to remember that consequence and dignity can exist in the same room. Today, your practice may be one sentence. One pause before judgment. One breath before you decide that someone else's failure proves your worth. One moment where you let the glass remain where it belongs, but refuse to let it make you cruel. If this kind of discipline speaks to you, stay with this path. The next test will probably not announce itself. It may come through a cheap speaker, a hard chair, a gray morning, or a name you never expected to hear again. The way you carry yourself when life gets ugly is the architecture of your dignity.